All right then. Welcome to Edinburgh. This is where this is being recorded, and it's where I'm doing all my runs. What we're going to be talking about today, very quickly, is flow state and how you can actually your day-to-day life. How we're going to be doing this is I'm going to be using an example from Rocket League, and why I'm doing this is I use this. I've kind of like grown up with it, and I didn't realize that not everyone did this when they were under a lot of kind of emotional stress. I thought this was kind of a natural thing, but it's directly from climbing. I used to climb a lot of dangerous things that I won't tell my family about, and essentially you had to have faith and belief in your abilities. Otherwise, you're gonna fall. Your emotions will get the best of you, and if you're 10 meters up the ground, above the ground, holding on with one hand and a foot or so, you really need to be in control, and it's a really good way of learning control. Another good way of learning control in a different way is Rocket League. I kind of played badly, subpar, and throughout this entire game. Rocket League, for those that don't know, is the first video game that is going to become a sport, and I hope to actually bring it to you. It's free to play, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's so intuitive, but the controls are so difficult. But it's just accessible enough that anyone can enjoy getting into it and playing it. Hitting shots and goals is one of the most satisfying things in video games, and it's just the exact same as getting points in real sports. It's amazing, and what's one of the best ways I actually got through lockdown, kind of practicing, getting better and getting better. Oh, sorry about my voice. It's quite early in the morning for me. So for those that are interested in the One Punch Man challenge, because I did say I was mentioned, I just hit week 5, so I've done 35 days in a row, 3,500 push-ups, 1,500 recalled. Well, I'm doing core exercises, the other videos, and 3,500 squats, which haven't been too bad actually. Oh, yeah, I am knacked. I am knacked. But the world doesn't really stop just because you're tired. So just because you're tired doesn't mean things aren't still going to happen and form. A really good example of it. I've been waiting for months for climbing to just open up again from lockdown. I live in Scotland, so we've potentially had some stronger restrictions, some of you, and some weaker restrictions in some regards. But our climbing centers have been shut down for ages, and I've been missing it so much. I've been missing so much, so much. But I did say I would talk about flow. So flow is, people always assume that it's kind of this motion notion, mind no mind, but essentially they don't have to think to get into flow state. Flow state is kind of like a calmness thing. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's you just calm regardless of the situation. And you don't learn anything in flow state. You have revelation. And you don't learn anything in flow state. You take that information which you have learned before, and it becomes much more a part of you. It just knows what to do naturally. And it flows, is why I think people call it flow state, because it really does feel quite effortless emotion. So it's kind of difficult to tell someone how to do it, because kind of like trying to get a plant to grow. Like, to get a plant to grow, you kind of need to not do anything. You need to give it the right situation, but it does it itself. It's very similar with flow state. It can't really force it, like the same way you can't force a plant to grow just by giving it more food and water and sunshine. It's just gonna take time. So over, I don't know how many years I've been climbing. I've been climbing my whole life. They used to kind of have issues keeping me inside my bedroom when I was younger because I would just climb out and escape. So I've had a love of climbing pretty much my whole life, and I think that's one of the main things. If you have a love of something, so much easier to get into flow state. I've been really enjoying running for ages, and I just enjoy doing it. But with the runs, I'm trying to talk about flow state and running, and I'm just like, it's it's kind of very different from flow state and climbing. Because flow state and climbing to me just feels like you kind of glide up a wall without thinking about it. But with running, especially longer distances, it's much more psychological. So you go inside your head and you kind of take yourself away from the physical difficulty of it. And actually, coming up now, I got 30 seconds left on the clock. I've been playing kind of bad. It was at this, I actually remember, it was just like, I'm just going to get wave dash go. Doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to wave dash. This didn't bother me, even though it was a shot right or net. I just knew our opponent, our teammate was going to get it. I was just so calm for this last 30 seconds in the game because I kind of mentally decided I was going to do a wave dash shot. And it's the cleanest shot I've done because I completely took my mind and my body out of the choices. And it's, you're not going to notice that in the game. You're just going to think, like, oh, he scored. But for me, that was just right. The defender was in the way, but it didn't matter because my idea was better than his. It's a really dumb way of saying some things, but flow state is a really arbitrary. It's really arbitrary, so it's really hard to describe. Like if I was able to meet you, it's so much easier to teach people how to get into it a lot faster. Magicians do it a lot with decks of cards. You can just be shuffling cards, getting into a flow state, and you just start pulling off bottom deals, second strikes, minute center deals. Like it feels natural because that's almost what the deck wants to do. Um, so that's what flow state is in a certain regard. How you get it is breathing. I think that's the only advice I can actually genuinely give, other than it needs to be something that you love, or something that you love needs to be at risk. Is another way of putting it. It's kind of a yin yang. It's the full side of it. Just because you love something, you don't want to let it go in a certain regard. So if you love something, you're able to activate a certain state better. It's going to sound very hippy dippy, and I don't actually quite agree with that because I grew up on the scientific method. I like tried and true principles, but the thing is, I can't come up with a good scientific explanation for certain things. I just switch off my brain and run, and I've been doing that for 35 days, and I'm going to try and do it for 3 years. This is week 5, and why I'm doing it is I had a bad time committing to things. I think a lot of us do. If it was something kind of financial, I didn't really have an issue. I was like, oh, I need to get money. But I got an issue just personally committing to things for long periods of time and turning up and doing them, even if they're hard. So that's where kind of this flow is coming in for me because it sounds silly, but the 10K a day runs haven't been difficult for me yet. It's been the 100 reps of things so far because I can't get into flow and do push-ups and count. I just can't count and do flow at the same time. It needs to be so abstract. There needs to be a really clear and easy goal that the brain doesn't need to spend time on. So that's why I really love running because I kind of know how far the distance is. So I just run in a circle with my brain switched off and I'm like, oh, I'm almost home now. I check my phone. Sometimes I've done a little bit more. Sometimes I'm just under the amount because I vary my route. But climbing, climbing. If you could go climbing with me, you would see very quickly what flow is. I love climbing. Climbing is the most beautiful thing on the planet. It's so perfect. It's the best thing. We're designed to move as humans. We're designed to breathe. Even if you have disabilities, you are still designed to move. And I think you should have an obligation to push your limits to a certain degree, but not push your health. I think that's a really big thing that I've learned over my life. Is this One Punch Man challenge is seriously going to push my health to the limits? Is every single part of my legs were just like below my belly button has actually ended up being sore coming back from the runs, but it doesn't bother me at all because I then get to go and do stretching for an hour, which is essentially just flow around for an hour and think about your body. Really mindful. I love it. I love it. But anyway, have a lovely day. I'm so excited to go for climbing. I need to go climbing before I need to do my runs. So I'm going to go climb for 2 hours and then take an hour to run and then do an hour of stretching in the evening. And this actually sounds so amazing to me. I'm so excited. I miss climbing so much. It's amazing. Climbing outside is amazing as well, but I love getting back into bouldering wall. Like indoor rock climbing is where, yeah, I love it so much. I think everyone should do it. And the bigger this channel gets, the more I'm going to be able to do. The funny thing is, it takes, I've had about 1 subscriber a day. So this is day 35 and I'm on about 35, 37 subscribers. So I'd appreciate if you'd consider subscribing. But other than that, just have a lovely day. And yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of sharing more with you. All this is on my channel is I share my mistakes and the stuff I've learned. And yeah, have a lovely day.